analysis on Bitcoin I haven't done in a while. I'm going to start at the high time frame, kind of look where we might be going on a higher time frame, and then go down to like what we're doing today and a trade that I took and maybe what I'd be looking for to trade today. But I'm on a monthly chart right now looking at Coinbase, and just to try to get an idea of how strong we are, on a macro scale. You can see we had a really strong monthly close last month in July, and it got us above this prior monthly close resistance up here. And so I want to make sure that I put some kind of marker on that so that I know, and I will just call this monthly resistance right here, so we'll know that that's there when we go down to a lower time frame. And so we closed above that on this monthly candle right here, and then now we've come back and kind of went through it and retested, and we're hovering above that now. So that's why I'm leaning towards this being bullish on a macro point of view, and I'd be looking for us really, if we're going to get up to another resistance on a macro scale, we would be looking at like the monthly close all-time high back in 2017, which is around 13,863. And if you notice, that's actually where we topped out on this wick in 2019 when we had this run up. So I will call this monthly, we'll just call it monthly all-time high, because for all intensive purposes, if we get above that monthly all-time high and close a monthly candle above that, then really, we're starting another, in my opinion, another bull trend to much higher prices if we can close a monthly candle above that, because we failed to do that here. We rejected, we've been consolidating for a year now, and now we're making another attempt at that. And so now that we've gotten this monthly candle closed above this resistance, then I'm kind of expecting us to gravitate towards here. But if we were to fall back below here, this support, I should call that support, not resistance, since we're above that now. So we'll call that support, and let's make it green rather than yellow, and then we'll make this red, so we know that's resistance. So yeah, if we get back below this level on a monthly scale, like if we close then into this month below here, then that would be bearish. I want to see us have continuation here, or at least gather support for a month or two above this level and make our way up to the monthly all-time high resistance based on those monthly closes back there. And one other thing that we can look at too is the reason that we topped out here was not only because of the monthly all-time high closes here that were going to be resistance, but if you pull a fib on this, which anybody that's watched my videos has seen, the fib levels that are important here are the 618. Anytime you hit a 618 on a rejection and a pullback, we're on a monthly chart right here. It makes no difference if we're on a monthly chart or a 5-minute chart. If you have this pattern where you have a sell-off, you're normally going to expect some kind of reaction at the 618, the 0.5 to 618 levels. And so it's interesting that it came into this level right here at the 618, and that's actually where we had the rejection. Now we're hovering at the 0.5 right here and kind of having some resistance. And so I would expect another push basically to this area right here. And so I'll kind of highlight that as a resistance, and I'll take this fib back off. So from a high time frame perspective, that's what I'm looking for us to gather support above 10,750 roughly, gathering support above that and heading up to 13,500 to almost 14,000 on a higher time frame. So we'll go down to like a daily and see if we can get some other levels denoted right here. So we get a little bit more granularity now that we're on a daily. You can see that we've tested this level, that monthly support, and now we're hovering above here. So a few things that I'm looking at is, from an Elliott wave perspective, I've always been trying to figure out where this was going to turn around. For anybody that followed me last year, I've been trying to catch the turn on this correction right here ever since we started this move down, because if this is a 1-2 and we're coming out of a correction, then you would be expecting support, between the point 0.5 and 618. Obviously, we went down below that. We've had support at the 618, had a nice reaction, came down through it almost to the 707, had a nice reaction, and then obviously the liquidity event, because of the coronavirus, we just went right through all of our fib levels, and came back to this level of support down here where there's a lot of supply, and then had the reaction out of that. And so still very possible that this was a 1 and this is just a 2, and now we're starting another impulsive wave to break all-time highs. I'm just a little confused on an Elliott wave perspective on where we are on this move right here, because it's not easy to kind of, we haven't had any significant pullbacks, so it's kind of hard to tell what we're doing here. I mean, it's very possible that this was a 1. Hold on, I need to take the magnet tool off. So it's very possible that we had a 1 and somewhat of like a running flat right here, which I can kind of show that in a second, and then this right here was kind of a triangle, and now we're coming up for a 5. And so if we do that, then obviously we would be expecting, if we do get this push up right here, we would be expecting a move back down to correct that before we start moving up. And if that is the case, then what we would be looking for is really the next big buy opportunity would be, if this plays out this way, would be for us to pull the fib from the low up to wherever this high ends up being. It would be logical for it to go to the monthly all-time high, which was also the 618 of the whole move down, which is why I drew that red box there, if you remember. It'd be logical if we came up here and completed some kind of 5-wave move off of these lows, and then if this was a major 1-2, then this would just be a 1-2 subwave of the major third wave. And so this is what I would be eyeing right here. This is kind of what I'm hoping plays out. We kind of come up here, we get resistance, and then we have to consolidate for the rest of the year potentially, if we don't just absolutely blow through this level right here and start making all-time highs, breaking that monthly all-time high resistance. Then I would expect some kind of consolidation like this, which would give us a good buying opportunity back down here at the 0.5 if this plays out. And so this is what I'm just going to keep in mind on a higher time frame here for what should play out. But I don't think that this trend's over yet, and so the reason I don't is because we've consolidated so long in here, in this contracting range. This is one reason why I long so heavily. When we broke out right here, when we've got that first daily close out of this contracting range, I went very heavy on a long right there, because you don't get very many setups like this on a higher time frame for Bitcoin every year. I would say like maybe 2 or 3 times a year you get like very obvious setups on higher time frames where you can really up your risk on a breakout, and it's definitely worth your time to hold that position for however long. I held mine until I got in on the first daily close out of this this contracting range, and I got out somewhere right around here before we had the run up there. I was a little bummed out because I got out early, but then again we rejected back down, and now we're consolidating. Roughly where I got out, I actually got out around 11,200. So at this point I'm kind of looking for long opportunities, because I think that we're gathering support above this monthly support now, and we're going to have another push. We should have another push up to 13,000 range, and so that's what I'm trying to find setups for on the lower time frames. And so this is just the count that I have put on it. If this is a 1-2, we had somewhat of a running flat right here, which for a 1-2 is not exactly common unless you're very bullish. So we had this running correction right here. You can see it. We didn't have any kind of major retrace where you would pull from the lows to the first high here. We never had a major retrace. A running flat is very bullish, where the correction actually goes up in an ascending fashion, and then you have a breakout of the upper trend line here for the other impulse move. And so when we did that, we came up in what looks to be, to me, if you put subwaves on this third wave here, looks like perfect 5 wave. So I'll drop that down a degree so you can see it a little bit better. So if we do that, you can see that that third wave from that 2 right there, after this running flat completed, from that 2 to that 3 was 5 very distinct waves. And so I think this is a third wave here. And then coming out of this, I mean, I don't really know many other ways to look at this correction right here other than either a triangle or potentially another running flat, where, you know, we have something like that. I don't even know how to really draw it. It would probably be something like that, where the 4 would have ended right there, and then this was the start of a 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 5. And so you would have a this running flat would look like this. It would be like an A, B, and then the C was somewhat of a ending diagonal, and it's not pretty. So that's the thing with Elliott wave. It doesn't get the corrections aren't always perfect, so it's hard to tell. You just either way, if it was this or the triangle, either way it's bullish. And so I kind of disregard what the count is in Elliott wave a lot of the times when it's not super clear. I just revert to what is the structure, you know, and the structure was obviously a contracting range. And so there was no point in, it didn't really make much sense trying to dig into this to figure out exactly what kind of correction was this. I mean, obviously it looks like it's some kind of 4 wave, because we had a 1, 2, perfect 5 waves up for a 3. So this correction is obviously some kind of 4 wave. It doesn't matter what kind it is. You can just put structure on it and see that we're contracting, and when we get that break, you know, you should be longing there. That's basically my reasoning. I'm not trying to get an Elliott wave count perfect, because at the end of the day it's just subjective, and you just gotta kind of use your best judgment. And for me, it's always easier just to put structure on it and play the structure and disregard what the exact Elliott wave count is. But now that it's actually played out, we can tell that it's either some kind of triangle like this, where the 4 ended over here, and we've ended up just coming out of here with like a 1, 2. So, and this could be the 3, 4, and then we have a 5 to come up here to complete this 5th wave. And so that would complete the 5 waves off the low if we were to do that. And so I think that's enough for the Elliott wave count. I'm just going to take that off. Man, I did not want to do that. Well, I lost the monthly level, so let me go back and put these monthly levels on here real quick. Put that on there. So that was support. We know what that is now, so I'm not going to name it again. And let me put this one on there as resistance. And we'll go back to the lower time frame here. So I'm going to a 4-hour now, because we were on the daily. So just digging into this move that we've made, you know, if you remember my count that I said, I think that this is probably a 1, 2. This is a 3. We're putting in some kind of 4, and we got a 5 to go up to potentially the monthly all-time high right here. And so what I'm looking for is, where are we at in this correction right now? Ideally, if this is a 1, 2, let me take this back off. If this is a 1, 2 right here, 3, and we're putting in some kind of 4, and then coming up for a 5, what you would want to do is, on a 4 wave correction, you want to get in, you want to pull a fib retrace from the start of the 3 up to the top. So you'd have been looking to get in on a pullback between the 382 and the 0.5 fib level. So if you pull a fib on the start of that 3rd wave and come up, you can see, which I don't have the 382 on here, but I can add it right here. So if I put the 382 on here, you can see that if this is a wave 4, I mean, we came into the zone where you would want to be buying on this retrace right here. Between the 382 and the 0.5, I mean, obviously if we're hitting a 0.5 of a major swing, you're going to get a reaction right here. That would have been a very good place to be getting in. It happened in the middle of the night for me, so I actually wasn't able to play that bounce. But the next best thing that you can do is wait for the reaction and then buy the first retrace. And so that was what I was doing today, is looking for the first retrace after we had this bounce. And so you just pull another fib on this, and keep in mind this green line was the monthly support that we need to hold above. We don't want to go below that. And so if we have a bullish bias, then we would expect that after we've tested this support level, the reaction off of it, we'd be wanting to buy the first retrace. And so this was the trade that I shared this morning in the Telegram. More just for a scalp, but I think it would be good for a swing trade as well. Playing the first retrace off of that bounce, off that major support level right there. And you can see we came right to the 0.5 right here. Went through the 0.5 just a tad. I got some orders filled right on the 0.5, and I'm already out. It was more for a scalp, but looking at it now, I probably should hold some for a swing trade, because if we've come off this major monthly support level, we've had the first move up, we've came back to the 0.5, that's actually where you want to be buying. And in our case, if we believe that this is a 4 wave, then it could be any kind of number of correction. This was obviously a sharp move down, so I would expect a 3 wave move like this, and then maybe we do like some kind of move up like this, and then have to consolidate some more and put in some kind of triangle before heading up. So it could be a little more drawn out correction, but with the assumption this is a 4 wave going in, we wouldn't expect this 0.5 to 618 to get taken out again. So it would be a decent long opportunity if we have the bias that we have in a 5th wave coming up to the monthly resistance up here. And so this was, in hindsight, probably a good place to hold that long rather than taking the scalp like I did. But there will be other opportunities. The more that we let this price action play out, the clearer it'll get. We'll actually form more structure, and we'll have other longing opportunities to be able to get in to go up to levels like that. But the immediate trade that was taken today would have been to buy this first pullback right here. After we had such a strong reaction up, buy that first pullback to the 0.5. And just even if you're not looking for like another high here, a fairly conservative target would be to, if you're longing here, is just to target the previous high that you're using as the pivot there, or the negative 236 for this. I think that would be still fairly high probability. And you don't have to target the extension of this fib retrace. You can actually take this off and pull this fib from the high down to the low to see where resistance is on the way up. You can see we haven't quite hit the 618 yet, so I'm as bullish as we've been. I would expect that we're going to at least get back into this range right here. So from where we've gotten this reaction, I would think we would at least get into this range. So if I was holding at this as a swing from down here, I would be at least looking to take profit right there before we notice any kind of resistance. That's just my first impression anyway, that we would at least come up to right here and then maybe have to come down a little bit to get more consolidation. But I would be looking at that as an area of the first interest for any kind of long right here. See if we can go down to even lower time frames, see if there's any scalps that could have been taken. As long as you have the high time frame in mind, you have a little bit more of perspective, and you can use that context to be day trading more. And so you have more confidence. Like, let's just say in this steep reaction right here, once we came up, well, first off, whenever you have a big sell-off like this, you want to be shorting the 0.5 to 618 like 100% of the time with a stop above the 786. And so if we do that, you see on this reaction down, or the rejection down, we had the reaction up to the 0.5 to 618 right here. Anywhere in there would have been a good area to short. And for me, I would have personally, knowing that we bounced on the monthly support right here, I probably wouldn't be targeting the pivot low or the negative 236. I would probably just be, if I entered a short here, I would just be targeting a retrace of this bounce right here. So if we entered a short right here between the 0.5 and 618 on this bounce up of the move down, then I would be targeting I would have to pull another fib from the low to the high right here. I would be targeting the move down to the 0.5 to 618 here. So I hope you see how I'm doing this here. I'm always pulling the fib. Every time we do a retrace of a major move, like that retrace, I'm shorting, and now I'm shorting down to this area of this move up to the 0.5618. And not only can I take profit and close my short from up here right here, I can also flip long and do the opposite. I can flip long right here and then pull another fib. I can come from either this pivot or that pivot. I'm going to come from that pivot because that was the pivot before we made the move down. And then I can target the, so if I shorted there, closed there, and went long there, then I would target the move back up of this move down to the 0.5 or 618. So you could have targeted anywhere in there to close your long. In this case, obviously it went between the 618 and 707 before we had a reaction. But you can see that anywhere in that zone you would have made decent profit if you got into a long right there. And so I just want to show you guys, like, these, whenever you have such a major move like this, if you play the fib levels, you're going to make a killing because they just get respected so well when you have such a big oscillation in price after a rejection. You're just playing the fib levels all the way through. And with the context that you know there's monthly support down here, you can actually get in behind these with a little more confidence and not have to worry about the fact that, you know, if you're getting in right here on a long, you're not too worried that it's just going to come crashing down because you have this monthly support right here. And the fact that you know that on a big swing up like this, that this level is going to get defended because it's the 0.5618 levels are going to get defended because it's a major swing. So algorithms are going to get in behind you here. So yeah, like I showed right here, you know, if you pull the fib from here, now that we're on the lower time frame, to the high, so far this has just been and you know, it's channeling quite nicely actually too. You can even put structure on this for the most part. We come down to the 0.5 of this move right here. So now we're looking for me, I would be looking for, it's either going to reject right here and we might have a retrace of this little move before we break out, or we're going to come straight out of here and then probably retest like this before we move higher. And so that's what I would be watching for the next 24 hours. So if we do retrace, if we get resistance here and retrace, then what you would want to do is you would want to pull a fib on that low up to wherever this tops out. If it tops out near the top of this resistance right here, then you would be wanting to buy a pullback right here in that range between the 0.5 and 618 with anticipation that it will come out of here and break this trend line, and we'll head up to you know, some resistances up here. And then obviously if we continue up here and we create this as support, you can you would be able to potentially get in along on a retrace here to retest that trend line of support. Put a relatively you know, you don't want it to stop too tight because you can get a wick back down below here. You want to give yourself a little bit of breathing room because, I mean, if you're targeting up here, your risk to reward is going to be pretty nice even if you have a loose stop. So you can play this breakout like that and retest there. So that's kind of what I'm looking for today. I hope this video helped. It's already kind of long, 25 minutes, but I think there's a lot of value in here. So I'm going to end it right here, and I'll see you guys next time.